Hello, my name is Patrick. This is a video abstract for the article The Evolution of Tail Weapons in Amniotes by Victoria Arbour and Lindsay Zano, published in the Proceedings of the Royal Society B. The evolution of animal weaponry for interspecies combat and defense is incredibly common, but the factors that lead to its immense variation across phenotypes and in occurrence in different body locations are not readily understood. By learning the factors behind the evolution of tail weaponry, the authors seek to gain a broader understanding of the development of all animal weaponry. In order to figure out these factors, the authors determined key traits that they would test for in a data analysis of existing phylogenies. The traits they selected were tail autonomy and skeletal structure, morphology and distribution of body armor, body mass, diet, locomotory mode, and habitat. The authors make an important distinction between tail weapon morphologies, first defining tail clubs as those with a stiffened distal third of the tail and a larger tail terminus. Then they go on to describe tail flails as flexible but armored tails, generally with bony spikes. The study also correlated these traits to tail lashing, which is the use of a non-armored tail to scare off predators. Using the software RStudio and existing phylogenetic datasets, 3 tree topologies with 286 amniote species were created. These trees were then analyzed for correlations between the selected traits and 4 tail weapon traits. Those weapon traits being tail lashing, stiff distal tails, expanded tail tips or tail clubs, and finally, bony spikes or flails at the tail tip. And now for the results. For tail lashing behavior, this was correlated with the presence of spikes, presence of osteoderms or bony structures under the surface of the skin, thoracic armor, tail length, herbivory, a snout to vent length greater than 100 centimeters, and a tail that is not able to grip objects or is not prehensile. The only correlation that was only seen with tail lashing and not other weaponry traits was tail length. As for bony spiked tail weaponry, there were correlations between stiff thoracic region, tail osteoderms that envelop the tail tip and co-ossify with the last tail vertebrae, anteriorly directed transverse processes on the anterior tail vertebrae, presence of osteoderms in the first place, spikes and armor on the torso, a wide pelvis, co-ossified hemal arches, and finally cranial weapons or ornaments. As for expanded or tail clubs, these were correlated with stiff distal tails, expanded hemal arches that buttress the tail center, osteoderms that form a continuous tube around the end of the tail, body sizes greater than 100 kilograms and 500 kilograms were both correlated to these tail clubs, and there was weak support for correlations with herbivory or plant eating, a wide pelvis, and osteoderms present on the torso. It's also worth noting that stiff distal tails did not have any correlations or strong contingencies between them and the tested traits. To finish off, I'll go over some of the most important findings in the paper. First, Arbour and Zano offer a convincing explanation for the question of why tail flails were much more common in extinct taxa than they are today. The paper argues that the development of these weapons is only seen in species with large body sizes, body armor, thoracic stiffness, and herbivory, an incredibly rare combination of traits in existing taxa today. Even though we still have a relatively large number of species that use their tail as weapons, the absence of flails can be explained by their reliance on specific morphologic and ecologic requirements to develop in the first place. Additionally, the paper provides meaningful insight into what the broader drivers for the evolution of tail weaponry might have been, citing 2 likely causes. The first being the evolution of these weapons as an anti-predatory defense mechanism, evolved by armored herbivores for additional protection from larger predators. The second driver they found was tail weapons as a sexually selected trait. These types of tails develop as a result of same-species combat over territory or mating rights, similar to the development of antlers in male deer. That's the end of the abstract. Thank you for your time.